Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited to see people in person again after, I don't know, forever. But it's great to see you all. I see a lot of familiar faces in the room, but I also see a lot of new faces, which is really exciting because our programs continue to grow and spread across the region. And I'm so glad that we have this forum to be able to coordinate and brainstorm and just make all of the Bay Area's programs the best in the country. Leslie Lara Enriquez. I'm with MTC and ABAG now. Actually, the last time I was here as the project manager of this program, it was still just MTC. So it's nice to be here with you all, and it's very nice to see you. I am now an assistant director for public engagement for MTC and ABAG, so I am transitioning this program to Marcela Aranda, who is in the back. She'll be the new PM, be transitioning over to her. It's been a slow transition for many staffing reasons, but I'm so glad that I'm still able to be here, and I will continue participating in this program because I've been here from the beginning since its inception to now. We will be celebrating 10 years after lunch, and our actual 10-year anniversary was back in 2021, so we didn't get to gather in person to see you all. I also want to welcome the folks online. I know folks, this is our first in-person / hybrid virtual meeting, so hybrid, so it's exciting. I want to make a quick announcement to the folks online. If you have questions, so the chat is disabled, but you are able to make comments in the Q&A box, and Marcela is going to be monitoring that throughout the hybrid portion of the meeting. We'll be breaking up into breakout groups, and unfortunately that won't be hybrid, but I just wanted to note that during the hybrid portion, you can enter your questions into the Q&A box. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Hannah, who has been our consultant PM for as long as we've been together on this program since the beginning too. So I'm really excited that Alta is continuing to work with us on this, and we've been doing so many great things through this program. So welcome all. I'm really excited to see you all in person, and I'm glad folks are virtual.
Thanks, Leslie. And yeah, it's just so wonderful to see all of your faces. And yeah, folks online, thanks so much for joining us. I know that you have transportation and everything. I'm glad that we can offer both options. Definitely open to feedback on how this goes, but we'll see. I think the only logistical thing I wanted to mention is that, and I've been sort of shouting it out to folks in the room, we have some presentations first, and then we're gonna do small group breakouts, kind of unconference style. So we've got some topic ideas in the back on the sticky notes by the coffee, and feel free to add a couple of sticky dots to the topics you're interested in, or add topics, and Anna's gonna look through those while we do the presentations and assign topics, and then we can mix it up halfway through, so we'll have a couple of opportunities. So, all right, well, I get to do introductions, and since this is our opportunity to be in person, we actually want to go around and have everybody introduce yourselves. And so we're gonna do name and your organization, your pronouns if you want to share those, and what's one way that the Spare the Air Youth Program has impacted your program or your work? So I'll give you a minute to think about that. And I'll start. I'm Hannah DeCapel. I'm a planning principal with Alta Planning and Design. I'm the project manager, like Leslie said, for 12 years now of this program. And so it has very much impacted my work. I get to work on Safe Routes to Schools programs across the country and with many of you all in your individual programs. And it's been such an amazing opportunity to learn from you all. Your programs are so, in many ways, so sophisticated compared to what's happening in a lot of the rest of the country. And we're also always learning from each other. And it's such a great collaborative community. I'm so grateful to be part of it. And I use she, her pronouns.
Hi, everybody. Tommy Binsko with Local Motion and the Bike Mobile. I'm not used to talking to a microphone.
Feel free to move it away.
Yeah. So
But you have to use it.
People need it for the, okay. Um, so yeah, he, him pronouns. Spare the Air Youth has had a huge impact on my work. The Bike Mobile started as a pilot program in Alameda County, and then Leslie and Hannah sort of tapped me on the shoulder, and they're like, "Hey, do you want to like try expanding this beyond Alameda County?" And that happened, I think, in 2014, and it's been amazing getting to work with all of you and just expanding across the Bay Area. So, yeah, Spare the Air Youth has been incredible for our work. Thank you. Yeah.
I'll take the mic. Hey everyone, I'm Rose Mesterhazy. Let's see, she series of pronouns. Let's see, I've been doing Safe Routes to School work now for like 16 years. So I like to say from brown to gray. And this work started in the Midwest. I started doing this work in the Midwest, came out, worked for the Alameda County Safe Routes to School program. That's where I got involved with Spare the Air Youth, and now I'm a Safe Routes to School coordinator for the city of Palo Alto with the Office of Transportation, with Jose here in the second row. And this has been a supportive group. This has been a place to share ideas, become inspired, see one another. I'm like holding back tears, seeing Wendy and amongst all of you, but just in recognizing the amazing gravity of contributions that we all have made to this movement for active transportation. This group was a glue that brought us all together, all that creative idea sharing, all that inspiration, Bike Mobile, offering services, throughout various counties so we could standardize our program and make it as amazing as it is. So I just want to continue to be a part of that, a part of this regionalization of the work and help the next generation with 21st century transportation. So who's next?
All right. I'm going to make this quick because I see there's a lot of people. Okay, great. Anyway, on that note, just Kirsten Riker. I run the Street Smarts Diablo program in Contra Costa County since 2012, and we're going to be expanding countywide this coming year with a big OBAG 3 grant. So, yes.
That's a great transition. Thomas Arndt. I work for MTC and I run the OBAG program here. And this is not related to MTC, but my first introduction to government work, I was volunteered at Active Transportation Advisory Committee and then ended up working here. So, love this stuff.
I am Georgia Dorman. I am the Assistant Director for Legislation in the LPA team, work with Leslie, Marcy and team. And I am just a visitor to this group. I come in and provide updates on sort of what's going on in the legislative realm. A little bit about me, though, is my start in government and just in my career was in Washington, D.C. I worked at a coalition called Transportation for America. And one of the first and sort of biggest policy things we worked on was with national bike ped groups, climate groups, transit groups to try to sort of push back on one party's attempt to kick transit out of the Highway Trust Fund and to kill the federal active transportation program. And so some of the first work I did was pushing back to make sure we got the what's called the TAP program now at the federal level. We run it through the active transportation program and to really boost up federal transit funding, which now forms our TCP program.
Recording in progress.
Hi, I'm Christina Panza. I'm with the Sonoma County Bike Coalition. I run the Safe Routes to School program for Sonoma County. I've been doing this since 2008, full time, and this program has been amazing to allow me to connect with other providers and get inspiration. Also, MTC provided through the state program the Family Bike Workshop, the Family Bicycling program, which allowed us to really expand our family bicycling programming in Sonoma County, offering workshops 4 times a year to families to get them on the road. And I just love this group, and thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Nick. I'm fairly new to Spare the Air, but I'm with the San Francisco Transit Riders, and I'm excited to be here. I've heard really great things about all the work that this program has been able to push forward. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Jasmine Law. I am with the Alameda County Safe Routes to School program and Transform. I was first introduced to the TAC meetings through my work in San Mateo County, which was last year, and it was just a really great space to share ideas and collaborate in safe routes work and active transportation work throughout my time here. So I'm super thankful and grateful to be here.
Hi, my name is Michelle Walker. I'm also with Transform in the Alameda County Safe Routes to Schools program, and the thing I've really enjoyed with Spare the Air Youth is the high school working group, because I specifically work with high schools in Alameda County, so that's been really helpful to meet other people who are doing similar work.
Hi, I'm Judith Santos with MTC ABAG. I also serve as the equity officer for the agency. I'm here with Frida Vieira and Sula Vieira, because it's summer school, and they're very, very interested in learning about Spare the Air Youth. And you can tell by their faces that they're super excited. So very excited to be here, my first TAC, and looking forward to learning from you.
I'm going to move it over here to the other side of the room, but while I do that, folks online, if you can put in the chat box that your answers to these questions, and we'll read them out.
Hi, I'm Gwen Furrow, Program Director for Marin Safe Routes to Schools, and much of what I was going to say has been said, especially about the connections and being part of a bigger movement, so we're not working in isolation. STAY has provided a lot of grant funding so we could do most of our innovative work in Marin, transit races, family biking. Most recently, we did a high school project whereby students pulled together a bike fest, and we brought in the Bay Area Bike Mobile. Over 60 bikes were fixed in a community that otherwise would not afford having those bikes fixed, and it was a very successful event. So much of the innovation has come thanks to STAY, and we love the conference. We hope you bring that back. Where's okay, here you go, Lou.
Hi, I'm Lou with Safe Routes in Marin. I work with Gwen. And I just want to thank everyone for the time during COVID when we really needed each other. And I think STAY probably brought us together with those baby meetings and trying to come up with online programming. It was really helpful to have everyone involved. So thank you.
Hi, I'm Wendy Callens. I coordinate the task forces for the Marin County Safe Routes to Schools program, and I've been doing this since 1999 when I co-founded Safe Routes to Schools with my friend Deb Hubsmith. So, and I also, I serve on the MTC Policy Advisory Council, and I'm vice chair of the I always get this Transit Transformation Action Plan Subcommittee. It's a mouthful. So I'm really into transit now as well as walking. And well, I started with transit, then went to walking and biking, and now I'm back with transit again. And this has been, I think one of the thing that I want to mention, other people have mentioned, but the funding that was created through this group, for the smaller grants, and also the fact that there's funding for all the programs in the Bay Area. I don't think we would be here if we didn't have that funding. Marin, some of us have sales tax funding that funds us, but some of you are utterly dependent on what comes through this program.
Hi, everybody. My name is Monica Nunez. I'm with Silicon Valley Bike Coalition. I'm the Director of Educational Programs, and I'd say a huge thing that this program has brought to us is we're able to reach communities that we hadn't been able to reach in the past, and so just really expanding our reach.
Hi, my name is Isa. I'm a student intern at the Santa Clara County Public Health Department in the Active and Safe Department, and I don't have much with regards to personal experiences with STAY, but I know that my colleagues do, so I will let them talk about it.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Martha Lara. I'm also with the County of Santa Clara Public Health Department, providing countywide technical assistance with their Measure B programming. This is my first time at a state TAC meeting, so I don't have much to say. I'll let Elisa share when it's her turn.
Hey everybody, my name is Jose Palma. I'm with the City of Palo Alto Safe Routes to School program. I work with Rosie Mesterhazy, and I've been there for almost 4 years. Time goes by fast, especially during COVID, but this program means a lot to me, especially during the COVID times, and also it's just nice to see everybody and new familiar faces and new faces. Anyways.
Hi, I'm Elisa Campbell. I'm also with the Santa Clara County Public Health Department, working with Martha and Isa, and actually a couple of familiar faces around here. So I've been working with the county since 2015, so about 8 years now, doing Safe Routes to School programming. Our program has evolved a lot since I started working there, but I'm really thankful for this program just because I've had opportunities to work with Tommy, with Bay Area Bike Mobile, with a couple of other partners, and echoing what everyone said, just the opportunity to learn from each other, just to network, and just to kind of see the amazing work that everyone's doing, and how can I figure out how to implement that in my program. So I'm really appreciative of this group, and I've learned a lot, and I feel like I'm constantly learning from everyone, so thank you.
I'm Ann Jasper, and I manage the Walk and Roll Safe Routes to School program for City of San Jose Department of Transportation. Pronouns are she, her. When I started Safe Routes work in 2015, I was with the Silicon Valley Bicycle Coalition, and then transitioning to government work, STAY has been that glue for me, because when from the nonprofit side, it's more like, yes, let's be very experimental, let's try new things. The government side, you need stuff that's backed by data. Has this been done before? And I could actually point to the things that all of you have done and say, yes, this has been done before, it's been successful, and so it's really helped in my work at DOT.
Hey all, I'm George Foster. I'm with Alta Planning and Design, working with Hannah and Anna, and actually many of you already. So it's really lovely to be here and see you all in person.
And hopefully everyone online has put in their notes, so we'll get to you soon.
Leslie La Enriquez. I introduced myself earlier. I'm serving as the temporary project manager for the Spare the Earth Youth program.
Hi everybody, Anna Gore, Alta Planning and Design. So I've been working on the STAY program since I think 2019. So I lived in the Bay Area but based in Portland now, but it's so nice to meet you all in person.
Hi, I'm Marcella Aranda, or Marcy, you'll hear that name often. I am going to become your project manager for Spare the Earth Youth, and I have been with MTC for about 15 years. Previously in the funding portion of it, I managed the Bay Area Bike to Work Wherever Day program, as well as the upcoming Transit Month will be happening in September. So this is just a perfect little middle ground to kind of meld them all together. I do have some announcements from online, and so we have Amy Antuanano, from Assistant Program Manager from Solano Safe Routes to School, attending, as well as Denise Turner from the Alameda County Safe Routes to School. She's the Alameda CTC, and she's the program manager for ALCO Safe Routes to School program. She says she hoped to join us all in person. However, she's happy to see many of our program in the room. The STAY program has offered our program a broader lens with which to consider our work and collaborations. And we also have Matt Dove, he, him, from Y of San Francisco Y Bike. Been working in and around Spare the Earth Youth since 2010, maybe. It's nice to see all the friendly and familiar faces.
Well, sorry to miss you folks who are online, but glad you could join us. All right, I think that was all of the intros. Anybody? Oh, one more. Who's this?
I'm sorry. I apologize, Davis. I'm going to completely destroy your last name. Davis Okonkwo from Contra Costa Health Building Healthy Communities.
Great. Okay, So we are gonna next have some updates from MTC, various programs, and we're starting with Thomas about OBAG 3.
I don't think I provided any slides. It'll just be a brief update. Okay. Thanks again, Thomas, everyone, MTC staff. I'll sit. So I last presented to this group in March on the OBAG program, but as a reminder, it's the One Bay Area Grant Program. It includes $766 million in federal highway funds over the next 4 years, and it's divided between the regional program and the county and local program. So when I came here in March, we were just adopting the county and local program. Just as a reminder on where that's at, the call for project is now complete, and sponsors are moving towards project delivery. Some highlights that I mentioned last time. The program includes continued support for county safe routes to school programs, and over half of the county and local funds are directed towards active transportation projects. You can see more details on that program on our website, the OBAG website. But moving on to the regional program, we're continuing to offer more focused grant opportunities through the regional program. Last month, the commission programmed roughly $36 million in regional funds to various projects that support implementation of Plan Bay Area, including parking management, planning and programs, mobility hubs planning and construction, and planning for growth geographies such as priority development areas and priority production areas. And we have additional grant opportunities coming this year and next year. We have electrification grants for zero emission transportation planning, transit station chargers, EV charging and public fleet electrification. We have our REAP grants, which include housing policy, technical assistance, housing preservation, and priority sites pilots. And we have a full list of all these opportunities, again, on the OPAG website, and I can drop it in the chat once I log on to the meeting. But that's my update, and happy to answer any questions on the OPAG program. Yes, please. Oh, yeah. Okay.
It's kind of a basic question. What's the website? Is it obag.org or?
Sure, good question. I can drop it in the chat as well, but if you go to the MTC website and just search OBAG, it'll come up. And it's nested within the mtc.gov website, I believe is the address. Oh, .ca.gov. I'll put it in the chat.
Yeah, mtc.ca.gov. Christina, did you have a question? Oh, yeah. I just want to make sure Matt sent me and us an email. I want to make sure that Thomas is able to address his question, but you can go first.
This may not be OBAG, but do you know if there are any focused grant opportunities that would allow for counties to apply for funding for additional high school programming? Because there used to be a high school program, but I don't know what's happening with that now.
Leslie, do you want to take that?
Yeah, I can actually respond to that as part of, I was going to give it as part of my update on the program. So we are working on the next cycle of the Spare the Year Youth Program. We got money from OBAG to continue the program, but we are sort of revamping it a bit. We need to, because it is CMAQ program, we need to really ensure that we are reducing greenhouse gas emissions. So we are continuing the two programs that are demonstrated to be effective reducers of greenhouse gas emissions from the evaluation we did, I don't know, 5-6 years ago, whenever that was. So it's the Bike Mobile and the Family Biking Workshops. But we're also, as part of, and Kara unfortunately is not here to give an update on the regional active transportation plan, but she recently completed development with a lot of input from stakeholders and the public on an implementation plan from the program. And through that plan, we identify some implementation actions that are going to be implemented as part of the Spare the Year Youth Program. And one of those includes technical assistance to local jurisdictions and safe routes programs throughout the region. So we're shifting the high school, we're still exploring shifting the high school to a true TDM program. versus the leadership model that we had before, because the leadership model just was not effective in reducing greenhouse gas emissions, and it was also very, I mean, you all know, it's very resource intensive in terms of staffing. So we are still exploring that option. We're switching to more technical assistance, and then we're continuing the bike mobile and the family biking workshops. And also exploring bringing back the YES conference. But we've lost the Air District as a partner on that, and we really need another partner agency, or we may just change it to a different model where we're working with local jurisdictions or anything like that. But those are the things that are moving forward in terms of that. And for high school TNAT, yeah, we're exploring how to implement the regional high school TD, Transportation Demand Management Program. Sorry to speak in acronyms. Oh, sorry.
That's all right.
Oh, yeah. Matt's question.
Oh, do you have that? Yeah, so Matt asked, I'm sorry, Matt, if you wouldn't mind typing it into the Q&A box, just in case I get it wrong, but he is exploring. So with the original funding that we got from CMAQ, we were able to purchase the bike mobile through our program. And Matt is exploring building a bike fleet, correct? Something like that. So we're wondering how we can explore that through the OBAG funding. And I don't know, it might be like too into the weeds, and we can probably take it offline and do it over email.
Yeah, sure. I'd be happy to follow up on it. I would say if it's a public bike fleet, that might fit into the the county and local program, which, as I mentioned, sort of the call for projects is closed, but could be an opportunity to apply the next cycle, which would be about 3 years from now. But I'm happy to coordinate on that project idea and see if maybe there's other funding sources within MTC that I could match up that idea with.
Yeah, I would anticipate that many people in this room would be interested in funding for bike fleets. But I'm curious if anybody, has anything to share about what they've done locally. Rose?
Matt wrote.
Matt wrote.
Going to forward that guidance document that SFMTA provided us. So
it might be a Buy America issue. I
Yeah.
know we talked about that as well, and that was the whole thing with the bike mobile. But does Buy America apply?
It sure does.
Oh, goody. We have a lot more options though for American-made bikes.
Thank you. I just wanted to speak to some of the conversation or what I'm hearing a lot about electrification. And within that, I know within our providers group at least, education around electrification, e-bikes, e-scooters, things like that, proper use, safety. Are there opportunities for the sort of non-infrastructure side of electrification, or is the focus mainly on electrification infrastructure and charging stations? I wanted to say that, and I also wanted to throw in another idea. Well, I have 3 ideas, but I'll give you that one. That one first. The second one was about TFCA funds, including bike racks on buses, and replacing degraded slotted toaster racks. And so I didn't know if anyone here could speak to TFCA funding, but that's an important part of our work too, and I wanted to know if those funds were still available in case you knew anything about them, because it doesn't sound like OBAG is providing those opportunities.
Sure. Yeah, thanks for the ideas. I wrote them down. So we do have a safety program as well, so that might be somewhere where sort of the safety aspect and training about proper use of micromobility could fit. And then I believe TFCA is an air district program. Leslie can take that too.
That's a great idea, Rose. I will explore it with Christina, who used to be the PM for the Air District side. So the TFCA funds come from the Air District. And although they're not continuing to work with us on the YES conference, they are exploring continuing the possibility of providing funding, TFCA funding for the program in the coming cycle. So we're still in those conversations, and we can definitely explore your idea.
Great. Well, if it's okay, I think we should move on, but thank you so
Thank you.
much. I'm sure Thomas is available for questions via email if you have any follow-up. All right, are we going to be able to have the speakers present from online, Marcy? So we have Carl as the next person presenting for the Active Transportation Program.
Yep.
Oh, hey, Carl.
Hey, everyone. Can everyone hear me and see me okay?
Yes, we can.
Excellent. Well, I couldn't type in the chat my introduction because I couldn't do the Q&A thing as a panelist. But anyways, Carl Anderson, part of Funding Policy and Program section at MTC. I manage various state-funded programs, one of which is the Active Transportation Program, which I have an update for today. So the California Transportation Commission adopted MTC's regional Active Transportation Program last May. This past May, which included $143 million to capital infrastructure improvements around the region. $99 million of that, 143 went to projects that have some connection to safe routes to school. So I just wanted to report that up to the group. And with that action, that fully concludes the programming of ATP Cycle 6. So now we are eagerly looking ahead to ATP Cycle 7. We haven't seen any sort of schedule or timeline of when the state will pick up the development for ATP Cycle 7, but we anticipate all that to start this fall. So if you're eager to participate in workshops or be a participant in the evaluation committee, please reach out to me and I'll gladly wrap you into that process. Looking ahead also for Cycle 7, unfortunately, the state adopted governor's budget includes a rescission to the Active Transportation Program. So we are anticipating a smaller than usual pot of funding available for Cycle 7. So just want to make that known now. Unfortunately, we haven't seen any fund estimates for that, so we don't have an exact number, but that is something we're aware of going into the next cycle. In addition to the development of Cycle 7, the most exciting update I have for this group is the expansion of our Active Transportation Program Application Technical Assistance Program. We did find a more long-term source of funding to help applicants as they apply to ATP Cycle 7 and beyond. As a part of the Technical Assistance Program this time around, we are going to be focusing some technical assistance for project sponsors that have a project already in mind and are ready to apply for Cycle 7. And we're also going to be devoting some technical assistance for applications or potential applications for Cycle 8 and beyond. So if you do have an idea for some sort of safe routes to school project and want to work with either the school district or the city or the transit agency that may have a connection to the project, start talking about what project ideas you might have, and then be on the lookout for any sort of call for projects for our technical assistance program that could help with the project ideation and scoping that could tee you up nicely for future ATP applications in the future. That's everything I have on ATP Cycle 6 and 7. Glad to take any questions from anyone in the room or online.
Great, thanks so much. Are there any questions? No. Seeing none. Great.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Thank you. All right, and then Cara was not able to join us today, so we will move on to Georgia. Oh, and you have the mic already.
Hello. Now it's on. Okay, so again, Georgia Dorman. I work on legislation at MTC and ABAG. And I guess I just wanted to start with my legislative update here is really kind of a precursor to a funding update, right? It's how many resources might be available from the state and the feds for you guys to either apply for directly via grants or for Carl and Thomas to hand out to you guys when the money comes through MTC. So I guess I did want to start by this has been a crazy budget cycle at the state level, and it's also been kind of a whirlwind at the federal level. And one of the sort of biggest ticket items over the last several years at the state and the federal level has really been around transit, that key element of connectivity for folks who are pedestrians riding bicycles to be able to get to and from, the core parts of their destination. And so I guess I did want to start by sort of keeping transit in mind, just sharing a little bit of a story. So the other day I was at one of my friends' houses in Oakland, and I walked in and there were these Post-its sort of all over their wall. And of course I asked, what in the world are these bright yellow Post-its on your wall? And they had shared that from the massive storms, they had all of this damage in their walls that was caused by a roof leak. And they sort of were sighing, having a huge sigh of relief because they finally got somebody in. There was all this damage around their neighborhood, so they finally got somebody in who are going to fix these leaks and the damage in their actual wall. And so that was great. They were pumped about it. They were also kind of panicked because they needed to replace their entire roof. And I feel like that's the story that we have with where transit is at right now. It's a little bit of a rough analogy for the budget. We were in this place with transit that pandemic-driven ridership losses really pushed major transit operators, not just in the Bay Area, not just in California, but across the entire country, to the brink of fiscal collapse, essentially. And at the same time, we have these pandemic-driven ridership shifts that seem to be here to stay. I mean, we're doing a remote meeting right now. This used to be everybody would come in person. And so that has really sort of created an urgent need for transit across the country to really rethink our business model. And so what we sort of tried to do with the budget this year at the state level was beg the state for $6 billion in gap funding that will help us fix the leaks, right? That's going to keep buses and trains running, to buy us time to be able to sort of reorient and develop strategies for a more financially sustainable business model. Quick update on my friends. Great news, their insurance is going to cover those leaks. For us, we had a little bit more of a belt tightening situation, and so the state did come up with enough cash to cover about 20% of our near-term transit operating need of that gap. The rest of it we're going to have to figure out on our own. The other sort of good news, though, about what the state has done related to the roof and the whole financially sustainable business model is that the budget deal this year puts in place a structure to come up with a statewide plan for transit as a whole to really come up with a more put in place a more rider-focused, customer-focused, and sort of seamless model, and really puts the pressure on regions like MTC and our transit operators to start coming up with a plan with the state around what would a financially sustainable business model be that could help address the state's actual goals for transit that are around climate and equity and ridership. And I think this is a really critical part, what's the funding need and the funding gap to get there? And the state is going to then be at the table to help identify what are some state revenue sources that can be enough to help close that funding gap. So similarly, I'd say a tiny sigh of relief, still a big weight on our shoulders and a lot of work to be done. But we are, not going to see Muni institute massive service cuts tomorrow, which is great news. What else did I want to sort of cover with you guys? I think, I just thank you for your work on the Transformation Action Plan and on the Policy Advisory Council, sort of informing that. One of the things that I think is really important for us to know as the Bay Area is that this sort of statewide look ahead, what's going to be our strategy to sort of have transit serve the needs of future transit riders, was really actually modeled on the Bay Area's Blue Ribbon Recovery Task Force that got pulled together, and then sort of what came from that was a Transit Transformation Action Plan that identifies, a set of strategies that we can implement in the Bay Area to make the experience better for Bay Area transit riders and to really try to urge people to come back to transit. And so that's really going to be sort of the core, the underlying sort of focus and strategy that has now informed what the statewide plan is going to be. And so that's good news, and I'm sure that there's going to be a lot of opportunity for stakeholders to engage in that and really talk about, some of the fundamentals around what do we want transit to be doing? Should transit be really connected to a more integrated bike network, et cetera, et cetera. So that's all coming up. And then I did want to take a second to talk about sort of two other big items, sort of everything else in the state budget, and then what's going on at the federal level. And my sort of high-level summary of what the takeaways could be of sort of all the other negotiations that happened at the state level and the craziness that was the debt ceiling debate. Should we have the federal government default and lower our credit rating? Should we not? The takeaways are that it could have been really bad for transportation. It could have been really bad for active transportation, for Safe Routes to School, for things like that, and it wasn't. So that's great news. You didn't get any more money, but there was a big threat of a huge amount of resources getting clawed back that had been previously been committed. And in the end, the negotiators were able to sort of lock that in and make sure the cash stayed there. And so at the state level, the big thing that was up for debate was, if you'd recall, back when the state was flushed with cash, the governor and legislature had put a whole lot of resources into the active transportation program. The governor this year put out that he was going to claw back $300 million from the active transportation program. For me, it's hard to wrap my head around what does $300 million statewide program mean, or statewide cash mean. And just for you all, that's the equivalent of what the Cycle 2 active transportation program was. So that would have been a pretty huge clawback. Again, negotiators were able to push back, and that money's whole. It's staying there, I'm sure, thanks to a lot of the advocacy that you all did. I saw a lot of Streets Blog articles and others on that one this year. And then at the federal level, one of the things that was going on with the debt ceiling negotiation was, if you sort of recall, during COVID, the federal government dumped in, I've been working in federal policy and federal legislation for my entire career. I look young, but I have been in DC since 2008. And the amount of resources that went into infrastructure for infrastructure stimulus is staggering. It is sort of a rough equivalent to the New Deal. It was just staggering. And a lot of how that money flowed was a promise that resources were going to be there and get allocated in future years. So with the debt ceiling negotiations, one of the big concerns was that sort of two buckets of resources that had been committed were going to go away. One, sort of the massive amount of new federal grant funding that is there for, safe streets for all, the RAISE program that I still call the Tiger program, and a whole lot of other Reconnecting Communities program, like all these big federal resources that, again, to give you a sense of scale, they are funded at amounts that are higher than what the federal government previously used to put towards every transit capital expansion project in the country. These are huge amounts of resources that are going to be one time, committed over 5 years, and there was a real threat that those were going to get clawed back in the debt ceiling deal as a money saver. The president and others were able to get some crafty language included in the final deficit deal that essentially protects all of those grant funds. And it protects the grant funds by saying, I just think this is interesting, so I'm just going to share it. It protects the grant funds by saying that, sure, you could claw back the money, but you don't get any savings from it. So it takes away all the sexiness of, not letting somebody's constituents get a big grant award. And so in my mind, and in many people's minds, that means that the cash it's protected, it's going to be there. The money that we call guaranteed. If you look at MTC's website, we have a bipartisan infrastructure law website that talks about all the grant money, and you can see two different categories when we walk through all the grant programs, and one of them is guaranteed funding, and the other is called authorized money. So it's like, what's the high bar? And all the guaranteed money is protected. So that can help you get a good sense of what's going to be available over the next 5 years. And then the other big thing was that, there's always a concern with big debt ceiling deals that there's going to be some clawback on formula dollars. And so those are the dollars that go into the OBAG program. And just good news, those are safe. And even if sequestration hits, even if folks don't meet, one of the big things that's going to be challenging for the federal government is going to be figuring out how to stick within sort of discretionary budget caps. And our programs that fund OBAG are exempt from the budget caps. So they don't become part of the negotiation. They're not on the chopping block. So that is, I hopefully ended it with happier news than starting with, you were going to have a lot of money taken away. And I'm happy to answer any questions. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for the brilliant analogy. I didn't want to throw shade to anyone who's Zooming in today, but I did want to share a small story today as well. As I was trying to figure out whether to show up today and come from South Bay, Silicon Valley, I really wanted to Zoom in myself. Really, really busy. But, I thought about it, and I thought about the transit gap, and I was like, you know what? I am going to show up. I'm going to take the train, and I'm going to show up because it's a socially responsible thing to do. It's connecting, it connects you in ways that, Zoom can't. And as people, as the state continues to figure out, messaging around using mass transit, I'm just wanted to put a plug in for this being the socially responsible form of transportation, and hope that that is part of the marketing and part of the movement to steer people in the direction of considering public transit first and resurrecting and making sure we don't lose this very precious resource that we have. Just a small corollary to that is, I consider it next generation transportation because I'm a Star Trek geek. And I was also just curious about bus passes for youth. I know that had been part of a consideration in the state budget. And, a corollary to that is beyond just the bus passes, what kind of education do we need to do? It's all about just shifting the narrative, changing the culture, making it the socially responsible, acceptable thing to do. So if you could speak to those two things. Thanks.
Yeah, happy to. So for those who, just a little bit of context, part of the sort of early on in the budget negotiations, one of the proposals was that part of the operating deficit that the state should cover is they should bake in enough resources to be able to cover free bus passes for youth. This is a big push down in LA, it's a big push up here, and in the end, like I had shared, the ask was we got 20% of the operating deficit covered, and so the state, there was just not enough money to go around for that. What there is, though, is flexibility to utilize it. Each region will receive the dollars, and there'll be flexibility within the region to put resources towards, whatever the most pressing operating needs are. Frankly, I think that when looking at will BART have to go to 1 hour headways or beef up the Bay Pass, that's going to be a really hard conversation, but it's definitely one that's going to be had at the commission level, and so it's sort of like a stay tuned on what's going to happen in the Bay Area.
Great. Well, we do need to move on, but thank you so much for all the nerdy details. That's really interesting. And actually, our next speaker is Michelle Lieberman of the Safe Routes to School, the Safe Routes Partnership. And I don't know how much we've stolen your thunder with, or if there's overlap in what you're going to share with us, but please go ahead.
There's definitely some overlap. Let's see, can I share my screen? And while we're working that out, thanks for having me. I'm Michelle Lieberman. I'm the Consulting and Program Support Director at Safe Routes Partnership. I've had the opportunity to meet and work with a number of you, and so excited
Michelle,
that you're
sorry,
all.
Michelle, to interrupt you.
Yep.
Can I just have our NTT colleagues pull up Michelle's presentation, please? And then you'll just have to say next slide when
Okay.
they'll run the slides for you.
Sounds good. Well, I'm excited that you all are able to gather in person. I wish I could be there. So I'm going to do a little bit of a national Safe Routes to School update, and I'm glad I'm going after Carl and Georgia because I'm going to reference some things that they already mentioned and hopefully just add some more information onto it. Next slide. So I'm going to start with what we're seeing a little bit nationally. First, with the bipartisan infrastructure law, also known as the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, that was passed in 2021. We really saw a federal commitment, reaffirming a federal commitment to safe routes to school. Not only in terms of the influx of money available for walking, biking, and safe routes to school, but also ensuring that Transportation Alternatives Program, TAP, includes eligibility for high school safe routes to school programs. And I know we've been doing, high school related safe routes to school work in California before, but really getting this into the federal commitment to expand it over above and beyond K through 8. I'll talk a little bit more about those opportunities, new opportunities in a little bit. Second, coming out of the pandemic, we are definitely seeing that there's a lot of safe routes to school programs who really have persevered. I mean, you all are amazing and so resilient, but seeing a lot of new faces, whether that be turnover in existing staff or even new programs starting up. So what we're trying to do at the partnership is you may have seen an increase in a number of our sort of introductory materials, webinars, materials that are kind of at the 101 level, and opportunities for folks to connect to each other, to bring in new ideas and new leadership in the safe routes to school world. And then last, we're definitely seeing the need to lean into partnerships. If school engagement was hard before the pandemic, it's even harder now. Schools are just really strapped in at capacity, over capacity. So we're seeing a lot of safe routes to school programs partner with libraries, with academic institutions and researchers, with youth-led organizations. We've got a number of examples I know coming out of the Bay Area, but a lot of new and innovative ways to connect safe routes to school with other topics, climate change, et cetera. So that way, we're all sort of supporting each other. So that's kind of national broad picture. Next slide. I'll expand a little bit more on the federal funding opportunities for safe routes to school. I'll let the slides catch up if you go to the next one. So we're seeing a number of opportunities to apply for safe routes to school funding through other programs. And these are opportunities where you're applying directly to the federal government. First, Georgia mentioned RAISE, previously known as Tiger and other things. The next call for projects we anticipate will come out in December of this year. And these are typically funding very large infrastructure projects. But to give you an idea of a safe routes related project, Philadelphia in the last round got $25 million for a school zone traffic safety project. So we definitely consider that. The next one, Safe Streets and Roads for All. Hopefully people submitted applications yesterday for the current cycle. We anticipate that the next opening will be in spring of 2024, so kind of on an annual basis. And these grants are available for planning, for demonstration projects, and for implementation. In the first cycle of Safe Streets and Roads for All, I wanted to point out specifically that 2 of the cities in Southern California, Costa Mesa and La Habra, both got funding for Safe Routes to School action plans. So this is definitely an opportunity to get some planning dollars, as well as to be able to do some demonstration projects, and then to implement things that are coming out of the plans. And there's a lot of new federal funding opportunities that we're seeing as really promising. A couple of them, the Active Transportation Investment Program, and then also the Neighborhood Equity and Access Grants. And our staff are kind of going through identifying what are the opportunities, especially for safe routes to school within these. And these are things that we'll share out in blog posts and our e-news as we go on. Next slide. On the state funding side, I just wanted to share that, as Carl mentioned, we anticipate cycle 7 of the ATP program to roll out in spring of 2024. We actually just opened our call for projects for our free technical assistance. And I put a bit.ly link here on the slide if you're able to write it down. I think we just did an e-blast, and it'll be in our e-news coming up. We have a rolling deadline, but our first sort of deadline is August 31st to apply. And we're able to help with scoping, with bringing stakeholders together and on board to support the project. Very similar to what Carl mentioned about MTC and technical assistance, we're looking at cycle 7 and cycle 8. So, if you've got a project ready or you're thinking about something for cycle 7, please apply. Otherwise, we're also thinking about what are projects that might need a little bit of a longer timeline to be ready to apply for ATP. And so if you're thinking, oh, it's maybe a project for cycle 8, also feel free to apply for our technical assistance. We've been able to help between 4 and 6 communities each cycle through this program. And in cycle 6, we had 3 of our TA recipients actually end up submitting applications, and all 3 got funded. So that was really exciting. Next slide. So just some other upcoming webinars and resources. I know Rosie mentioned e-bikes. We're hearing a lot of chatter about e-bikes across the country, and what do we do in terms of education? How do they get incorporated in our Safe Routes to School programming? And what are policies around that? So we're definitely not the experts on e-bikes, but we definitely want to connect all of you with each other and other practitioners across the country to talk about what you're seeing, talk about the challenges and the solutions that you've come up with. So this open Zoom is actually tomorrow at noon, and I hope you can be there. I did not throw this on the slide, but there is a bit.ly link for that registration. It's bit.ly/ebikezoom. We also have a number of webinars lined up for the fall. These are sort of tentative. I don't have dates set for all of them, but they're going to start rolling out in September. Some of the topics that we're looking at covering are Safe Routes to School and Vision Zero partnerships, exploring partnerships between Safe Routes to School and Safe Routes to Parks, planning for community engagement, and then telling your Safe Routes to School story. So these will all come out, registration will all come out through our e-news and through e-blasts if you're on our listserv. And then I saw Elisa doing introductions. We also have a guide to addressing school closures and consolidations for Safe Routes to School practitioners that we've been developing with Santa Clara County Public Health, and hope to roll that out in the next couple of months, and hopefully it's a good resource. And then last on our sort of upcoming and existing resources, if you're not part of the Safe Routes to School Google group, I would highly recommend joining. It's been really active. So hope to see you on there. And then my last slide is about our Safe Routes to School Summit. I know we haven't had an in-person conference nationally since 2019, and we're hoping to get back to that next year. But in the meantime, we've been doing these virtual summits. We had one last year that was really well attended. And so we're doing it again this year, October 24th through 26th. And the early bird registration is open now. I would really highly encourage you to take advantage of the early bird. And the link is, there's a bit.ly link here at the bottom, but there's also a link in the middle of our saferoutespartnership.org webpage. So I know that was really quick, and I know you have a lot of things packed into the agenda today, so happy to answer any questions now. But I also, on the last slide, left my contact information. My email is michelle@saferoutespartnership.org. Feel free to email me with any questions, or if you just want to chat anything Safe Routes to School, always happy to connect.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Here's a question for you.
Hey, Jose here from Safe Routes to School, City of Palo Alto. I'm wondering about ATP, and this could be anybody else who can answer this for me, but is funding still being weighted on like low income or disadvantaged communities. So I'm just wondering if that is still happening.
Yeah.
And also, I want to also ask, you know, I've always was curious about doing a collaboration with another county as well in sort of an ATP grant between, for example, East Palo Alto and Palo Alto. So curious if that's ever been done before as well.
Yeah. Yeah, so the guideline development for Cycle 7 hasn't started yet, but one of the objectives of the ATP that's like written into the statute that established it is a focus or focus on disadvantaged communities, and you know, having so the specific criteria is expected to continue over from Cycle 6 into Cycle 7. So hopefully that answers that question. And yeah, hopefully you can have some discussion about examples in the room of collaborations, but we've seen a lot of different collaborations in terms of partners between, you know, adjacent jurisdictions, between a jurisdiction, an individual city and the county. So yes, I would definitely consider it.
Great, thanks. Are there any other questions?
I have like one more question, I promise. I can't keep it in. Keep it real quick.
Hey, Michelle, how are you doing? Good to see you. Just real quickly, Stop is Yield legislation is being proposed right now. I've been connecting with CalBike around that. I think the partnership came out in support of the legislation at the state level, which treats stop signs as yield signs, which I think is awesome. But the challenge is that it's only for 18 and over. That's like what they're proposing, which is could potentially create all sorts of like cognitive disconnects in how we teach this and model this and all sorts of things. So I don't know if you are the point person at the national partnership around that bill right now, that legislation that's being considered, but just wanted to, in case you did, get your feedback on it.
Yeah, I'm not the point person. You may know Jonathan Matz, who's our California Senior Policy Manager. He is the point person. I can pass your comments along to him today, and yeah, totally hear you.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Michelle. We're going to keep moving. You know, I didn't actually go through the agenda at the beginning, but I was just going to quickly say we still have time. We have, 2 quick other announcements, and we'll move into the breakout sessions. You've been listening to a lot of presentations. You'll get to listen to each other and share your own stuff. And then we're going to have a break for lunch. Those of you who signed up, and I think we have a couple extras, will be taking our lunches to the Transbay Terminal roof park. I've not been there yet. I'm excited. We'll be back for a celebration of the 10 years of Spray Their Youth. And then those of you who want to stay, we'll be moving upstairs actually for the high school working group. So we'll talk about that. And then those of you who are really signed up for the whole day, we are invited to join us or if you want to leave and come back, are invited for the social at High Dive. We'll be walking over there around 3. And folks who are online, we're about to, turn after the last 2 quick announcements. We'll turn off the Zoom, but you are welcome to join us for the high school working group meeting, which will be less of a webinar format, and it'll be a more traditional Zoom meeting. Okay, so 2 more quick things. First, we have Judas from MTC.
Yes, I'll just come over here so that folks don't have to twist their neck. Hi, good morning. Jada Santos, MTC ABAG. I just wanted to provide a quick update on MTC's new Community Action Resource and Empowerment Program. Has anyone heard about MTC's Lifeline Transportation Program here? Anybody? Yes. Okay, I see there's like a couple of handfuls. Well, great. So the MTC CARE program is the redesign of the Lifeline Transportation Program. So the MTC CARE program is the first. This is its first cycle, and there's an active call for project ideas going on now, and the deadline to submit a project idea is June 21st. And in order to do that, please go to our website, mtc.ca.gov, and just do a search on MTC CARE or MTC Lifeline, and it'll take you to the page where you can sign up to attend an information session that's happening tomorrow at 1 p.m. Also, there's an information session on the 19th. There's also a link to submit your project idea, and there's also a bunch of information around the CARE program as well as the priority focus areas. The grant program actually includes 3 broad categories. The first is advancing projects that are in community-based transportation plans. The second category is to implement projects that have undergone a participatory budgeting process or something very similar to it that involves heavy and extensive public outreach and engagement. And the third category, which is a new category, we're calling community power building and engagement. And this is for funding for CBOs to provide outreach and engagement support. And the other subcategory is to provide support and technical assistance capacity building for and with CBOs and local government. So I encourage you to visit our website to get more additional information, and please feel free to contact me, Judith Santos, jsantos@bayareametro.gov. And it's a $21 million grant program that is competitive region-wide. Thank you.
Thank you, Judith. And we'll send all of this information with the notes after the TAC meeting. But really quickly, I wanted to mention the timeline for the next cycle of the Spare the Air Youth. So this month, staff is working on the federal aid process and getting all of the paperwork filed through Caltrans. So we hope that that'll be completed in the next 6 weeks. So in mid-August, once we get the green light from Caltrans, we'll do the procurement to select a new consultant for the next cycle of the Spare the Air Youth program, and hope to have a new contract online on January 1st, 2024. So just really briefly wanted to mention that timeline. And we are, I think I'm handing it off to Anna or Hannah.
Yeah, I'll just do the quick handoff. Mostly I was going to say thank you so much for the folks who joined us online. We're going to turn off that portion and focus on the in-person at this point. So I don't know. I don't even know where the IT people are. Yeah. Thank you so much, folks. You're welcome to turn off the Zoom. IT people in the sky. I don't know. Okay, great. Well, we don't really need this anymore, but we can use it. All right, well, my colleague Anna has identified the topics that we're going to be talking about. We're going to do 2 rounds of small group conversations. You'll have, and I think we might switch up. Well, I'll let her explain what she's come up with. We will do a kind of, we'll stay at our tables for the very end. We'll do a quick wrap up and do a little popcorn of like, what did people learn or anything you want to share before we move into lunch. But I think with that, we will move into our discussion topics.
Great. Yeah, in a second here, you all get to stretch your legs and move to small group tables. I think I did a head count. I'm going to aim to have 5 tables to start, and we're going to do 2 rounds of about 15-minute breakout sessions. And again, thanks for folks that came early and put a sticky dot on their favorite topic. I picked the ones that had the most votes to start us off. And then if you have an opinion or a thought on something else you'd like to talk about, either tell me or write it on there, and when we switch, we can switch topics again. So the tables have numbers here. Table 1, I put transit education. So if anyone wants to focus and deep dive, talk about transit education, you can come over here. And feel free to pull up another chair. These are 4-seaters, but you could grab a chair from there if you want to get up to 6 people at a table. It's totally fine. School volunteer involvement was another one that had a lot of upvotes. So if you're interested in that topic, go ahead and grab a seat at table 2. And program evaluation, if you're interested in that topic, it's going to be table 3. And just, there's discussion questions written up here just as a prompt for you all if you need it, just to get the conversation started. But again, this is supposed to be time for you all just to connect with each other and share ideas and resources. Okay, working with schools. So examples are communications materials and partnerships. I'll put that at table 4. And for table 5, community task force. So if you're interested in that, go here. So I'll let you all move about now, figure out where you want to go, and we'll, in about 15 minutes or so, we'll switch and have a chance to go to a different table. Okay. So since you all can't, one more announcement before you all dig in, just since I know you all can't see this from where you're sitting. So some of the discussion prompts, if you're looking for a way to kick off the conversation, what are you doing around this issue? You can popcorn around the table with that. What would you like to be doing differently? What are the gaps, for example, staffing or partnerships or money? And what is your vision for the future?